of a number of your points, and I hope you will find them back into the report. Now it's time to talk again with one of our keynote speakers, Vivek. And Vivek Asrani from India is CEO of a business, a family-owned business, specialized in staples. He's also on the board of IFC in Switzerland and in India, and on a few other boards of NGOs in India. So he has a different approach. Let's hear from you, Vivek.
Thank you, Antoine, for this opportunity. And thank you, Peter, for laying the foundation of this talk. I was very, very inspired by what you said, especially when you spoke about the purpose of business being beyond profit. Let me start with something which Peter said. You spoke about the new norms which businesses need to adapt to. And I'm going to share some of my experiences over the last 37 years. So just to give a quick background, my grandfather came as a refugee when there was partition between India and Pakistan, lived in a refugee camp, had near nothing when he started, one table, one typewriter. And, my father and he then set up a small factory. And interestingly, the business has sustained over the last 60 plus years. So for me personally, I am living a sustainable model, even though it is a small business. And I'm just going to share some of my experiences and insights on that. So I absolutely agree with you, Peter, that business has to move away from predictability to being adaptable and to accept new norms. At the same time, I am also realizing that some of the norms that my father and grandfather set up 60 years ago is what is even helping us today in remaining and being a sustainable business. And one of the roles, I think, of leadership in building sustainable businesses is recognizing what is changeless in the business and what can change. I think one of the changeless for us and for all businesses to be sustainable is being principle-centered. A lot of people spoke about ethical business practices, but let me tell you how this has helped us as a business. India went through 3 shocks in the last 5 years. We first had something called demonetization, where certain currencies had to be given back to the banks, and you had to explain where you got those big notes from. And a lot of people who were doing unethical businesses were unable to explain themselves. When businesses were collapsing in India, the small and medium businesses, we saw a growth in our business. Not because we were smarter than the rest, it's just that we had adopted certain principles. So we had zero disruption when there was demonetization, because we could explain away everything. The second big shock in India was when we rolled out the common tax. A lot of businesses were surviving just cheating on taxes. During that time of disruption, again, we saw a growth in our business, not because we were smarter, but because we were always compliant. The third shock we had was the COVID, the pandemic. A lot of businesses have suffered. Today, we have recovered to pre-COVID levels, and we've actually surpassed that. So we've actually seen a year-on-year growth. Reason being, because we were working with certain principles, getting our material out from customs, our operations, payments, everything worked seamlessly, and we were not affected as badly. So the point I'm making is that being principle-centered is one of the key ingredients of building a sustainable business. The second is practices, good practices. Now, normally we talk about practices only in terms of processes. But to me, the practice of a business really defines the culture of the business. And culture helps build sustainable businesses. Let me share with you something very interesting that happened to me. having set up a new division in our business, and I thought I'd done a great job in communicating our values and principles, my senior most person, who had then been with us for almost 15 years, comes to me and says, look, there is this one account and we don't have the fastener business and it's huge. I said, I know that because all the tools are ours. I said, what's the problem? He's saying the purchase officer is, hinting at the fact that we're not doing anything for him. So I knew where he was going with this. I said, let me give him a little rope before pulling him back. I said, so what do you suggest? He's saying, look, let me take care of this guy. I understand all the values you talk about, but this is too big for us to lose. Let me just take care of him. You know, I know, nobody else in the company needs to know. I said, okay, that's a good idea. I said, but let's just think one step forward. At some point, you'll have aspirations to grow in the company, and then you will hand over this account to your subordinate. And at that time, you will call him and say, look, I'm telling you something about this account, which now you know, I know, and Vivek knows, and nobody else in the company knows. I said, from that day onwards, your subordinate, your one down, will stop believing everything he's heard from you and me. Second, you'll never be able to stand in front of your sales team and talk with conviction. You will say the right things, but it won't come from your gut. And I said, third, when under pressure, your junior will start resorting to a similar tactic. And there will come a point of time when he'll say, you know, he knows, and Vivek doesn't even need to know. I said, now do the math. There is a loss of profit in not getting this business. But there is a loss of an organization if this cancer spreads and becomes the way we work. Now, you tell me which is a bigger loss. Having said that, what does it take for us to get the business? Is it price? Is it quality? Is it delivery? Is it service? It took us 2 years, we got the business. Now, when a business is willing to make short-term sacrifices for retaining and maintaining its long-term stability, it becomes sustainable. And this again comes down to the culture, the leadership, and the conviction. Business is all about people. If people stay with you, your business stays. It's a common principle. And who are the people we're talking about? If your customers stay with you, your business survives. If trained people and teams stay with you, your business survives. If suppliers stay with you for a long period of time, they give you good terms and good prices, your business survives. So business is really all about people and taking care of people. And herein, one of the things which I have learned is that sometimes a business, and a small and medium business, need not necessarily be able to afford very expensive people or very, very qualified people. And this is a challenge we face in India, for example. And I had a very interesting experience, and it comes from our culture, that there is a leader in everyone. It's just that a lot of people in life don't have the opportunities. There was Mahesh, who was a courier boy, would deliver parcels to our company, asked us whether we had a job. We gave him a job as an office boy. There was something in him, he was very up and alert. To cut a long short, this courier delivery boy today runs our 4,000 spare parts division, run through a computer system. Our engineers today consult with him when they are out of stock of a spare part to see what else we could do to find a solution. This boy today goes to multinational companies to repair their tools if necessary. When we develop people, we make our businesses sustainable. When we create opportunities in our business, we make our business sustainable. Business has to be willing and able to change itself. The ego of the family, the ego of the leader cannot come in the way of change. If a business believes, or a business leader believes that, look, we know best and this is the only way to do it, then no matter how good, talented, skillful, or resourceful you are, you may not sustain. The whole, today the word being used is pivot, that people need to pivot where they are from into something different. I think it's all about what I would call progressive thinking. My grandfather was an importer and an indentor of stationery items. My father was a manufacturer of staple pins, but only for paper and stationery use. I have inherited the base, but what I am doing is completely different than what my grandfather and my father did. We're into industrial range of fastening systems. I don't know what my sons will do in case they join the business. The products have changed, but the business has sustained. The willingness and ability for leadership and the family or the board of directors to be flexible and progressive in their thinking creates sustainable businesses. A lot of us have today spoken about partnerships. And normally when we talk about partnerships in business, we talk about the organizational partnership with multilateral organizations, with NGOs and others. I think the partnership, and let me share with you how some partnerships have benefited me tremendously in the last 6 to 9 months. It is the job of the business leader to build personal friendships, networks, and partnerships with people. So when the pandemic hit, as a business leader, as an owner, I was faced with a situation which we had never seen before, like everybody else had. And therefore, the first thought that came to me was, I have to operate from a space which I have never operated from before, because it's completely new and different. I picked up the phone and spoke to a very dear friend, Farhad Forbes. Mike will know him, and some of you may have met him. An outstanding human being running a huge enterprise, 100 times our size, maybe, I don't even know. I said, Farhad, what is the right way for me to look at the situation? And because I had a few such conversations, I was able to navigate and communicate with our team. I remember Farhad telling me one thing. He's saying, look, one of the things we're doing is we are collecting our payments. And I said, Farhad, but my guys are telling me that everything is shut down. If we call up customers and dealers for payments, it will be a big emotional thing. Okay, my sales team is saying, we're not going to make phone calls for payments. Let's wait for things to open up. He's saying, no, you are asking for something that is legitimately yours. And if there is genuine pressure somewhere, you can, of course, be understanding. We collected 30% of our outstanding, which really helped us in our cash flows. Now, that wasn't my idea. It came to me as a perspective because I had built a partnership with another industrialist. So when we talk about partnerships, it's also the personal partnerships that we build as businesses. The second thing that makes us sustainable is when we truly live the interdependence. Our competitor called us and said, look, we're running out of raw material. Can you help us out? And we shipped raw material to our competitor in the month of May or June. And I said to myself, he called me saying, listen, I'm very embarrassed to ask you this, but this is our problem. And I laughed and I said, listen, this is not the time for us to worry about competition. This is the time for us to just take care of our workers, their family. And you know what, at the end of the day, it's not going to shift the needle for you or for me. Now, when we operate from a space of abundance, we make our businesses sustainable. I cannot prove this mathematically, but I have had enough experience and such examples in our own life where suddenly a lot of that abundance comes back to you, that when you are in the time of need, it just kind of comes back. Perseverance is critical if we're talking about sustainability. Where is the question of sustainability in a good time? When your product is doing well, when there is no chaos in the economy, where is the issue of sustainability? It's under pressure that businesses are threatened for survival. the perseverance, which means not just the physical, but even the emotional, and I would say the spiritual strength of our teams of a business is critical. And let me end with the last thing. Trust is the most valuable currency in the world and is an absolute essential ingredient for sustainability. Because when you have built trust with your employees, with your suppliers, with your customers, with the government, with society at large, in a crisis, you are able to ask for things which a lot of other people don't get, and a lot of things come your way which don't necessarily come to everyone. Having said all of this, we've been very lucky so far, but I do think that, going back to what Peter said, yes, there are new norms we are learning, but I'm also learning that some of the traditional norms of building trust, building partnerships has also helped us in a big way. Thank you.